Hi, today we're talking about CCM6, least common multiple. A multiple is the product of a number and any other whole number. For example, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 are all multiples of 2. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and etc. Or 8, 16, 24, 32. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and you get the idea. It's like counting by that number. LCM, or least common multiple, is the smallest multiple that two or more numbers have in common. Some strategies we're going to use today: prime factorization, Venn diagram, and ladder. We're going to start by using the prime factorization, or otherwise known as a factor tree, to find the LCM. So first, we decided what times what makes 12. So 3 times 4 makes 12, and then I continue on. I've got a prime number of 3, and then I've got to ask myself what times what makes 4, 2 times 2 makes 4, and those are all prime numbers, 3 times 2 times 2. Then I do the same thing with 15. I find out that 3 times 5 makes 15, and those are my prime numbers, so I stop. And what I'm doing here, this is different than the GCF. I'm circling my common factors, in this case 3, and I'm going to multiply that number by all the other factors in my problem. So I'm using 3 only one time, because that's what they had in common. Then I'm going to multiply 3 times the remaining numbers. So 3 times 2 times 2 times 5 is 60. 60 is my LCM between the numbers 12 and 15. Let's try another one. I've got 30 and 75. So I've got to break down 30. I know that 3 times 10 makes 30. You could have chosen 2 other values, and that's fine. And then 2 times 5 makes 10. I've got all prime numbers down here at the ends of my branches. 75. 3 times 25 is 75. It's like having 3 quarters, 75 cents. Then 5 times 5 is 25. I'm going to circle my common factors. 5, they have all 5 in common and a 3 in common. So I'm going to use 3 times 5 because they had a 3 in common and a 5 in common. Then I'm going to bring down my remaining numbers here that are not circled, and I'm going to multiply all of that together. 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 5 is 10. 15 times 10 is 150. That is my LCM of 30 and 75. 150 is the first multiple that these two numbers have in common. Let's try a different method. Let's try Venn diagram. As you can see, I have the same numbers that I used in the last problem. 30 and 75. What I've done here is I just wrote down their prime factorization, since I've already done it. And now I'm going to lay these numbers inside my Venn diagram. The numbers that overlap between these two values, I'm going to put in the overlapping region of my Venn diagram. So I notice that I have 3 and 5 that overlap for each number. So those go in the region here, and then the remaining values for 30 was 2, and the remaining value for 75 was 5. Since they did not share a second 5 or a 2, they go in the region of each circle that does not overlap. So what we're going to do is we're now going to multiply all the numbers that we see here. We'll multiply everything in a Venn diagram for the LCM. The LCM is the product of all the prime factors in a Venn diagram. So 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. And even though I've got it written a different way in a different order, I will still get 150 as my LCM here. Interesting, huh? Let's try one more method. It's called the ladder method. This is my favorite. So when we have the ladder method, you can have 2 or 3 numbers when you have to find the LCM. The ladder method is kind of like upside down division. I'm going to have the 2 numbers that I have to find the LCM of on the inside, and then I make my upside down division bar. And I ask myself, what's the smallest prime number that goes into both 14 and 12? Well, I know that these are both even, so 2 will go into both of these numbers. So I write a 2 on the outside, and I divide. 2 goes into 14 7 times, 2 goes into 12 6 times. I look at my numbers 7 and 6. These 2 numbers are what we call relatively prime, meaning that they are prime in comparison to each other. They have no other factors in common besides 1. So I'm stuck. That's all I can do. Well, to find the LCM, we are going to make an L with our marker or pen, and we're going to multiply all 3 numbers together. The number to the left and the numbers on the bottom. 2 times 7 times 6 is 84. 84 is the LCM of 14 and 12. 84 is the first multiple that these 2 numbers have in common. Easy as that. Let's try another one. This time I'm going to try it with 3 numbers. It's a little bit trickier, but you'll catch on pretty fast. So I've got 4, 20, and 18. They're all even, so I know 2 will go into all numbers. 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 goes into 20 10 times, 2 goes into 18 9 times. Okay, looking at what's left, each number as a trio, they're relatively prime because 9 is odd and I can't divide 2 into 9 like I can these 2 numbers. But that's what's funny about LCM. LCM, I can do another division, upside down division, and take out a 2 from these 2 numbers, but leave the 9 alone because I can't evenly divide 2 into 9. So I'm just going to ignore it and bring it down. Now looking at the bottom 3 numbers, there's nothing really left I can do. So I'm going to again make an L. I've got 2 times 1 times 5 times 9. Well, 5 times 9 is 45. 2 times 2 is 4. Anything times 1 is itself. So now all I have to do is figure out what 4 times 45 is. Well, I know that 2 times 45 is 90, and then 90 plus 90 is 180. So 180 has to be the LCM of all 3 of these numbers. Hope that made sense. What I want you to do, I want you to try finding the LCM of these 2 numbers and then these 3 numbers, any method you choose. You pause the video and then try them on your paper, and then when you're done, push play and I'll do them for you on the board. 8 and 20. I know 2 goes into 8 4 times, 2 goes into 20 10 times. 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 goes into 10 5 times. That's all I can do, so I'm going to make an L. 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. 40 has to be my LCM. Now I've got 8, 12, and 16. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 2 goes into 16 8 times. I'm going to do 2 again. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. I'm going to do 2 one more time. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 cannot go into 3, so I leave it alone. 2 goes into 4 twice. I'm going to make an L. 2 times 2 times 2 times 1 times 3 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Anything times 1 is itself. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 6 is 48. That's my LCM of 8, 12, and 16. I hope you gained a lot from this today. Keep practicing your LCM.